Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Well, welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning. Hope you guys had a nice
morning,
weekend.
Jenny. It was good morning. Good Saturday. Watch the Versus battle. Ohio, the Earth, Wind, and Fire and Island Brothers. Yeah. So it's going to be a good day for me. Good day for me, Skip. Bad day for you, though.
So, just for today's show, I have a new name. You can call me Skip Baylor, as in Baylor Bears, as in Go Bears Go. I got the Bears. They're my last hope.
Don't do that.
Please, Bears.
Don't do that, Skip. Yeah. Don't do that.
Skip Baylor, how are you?
No, I tried to give you Gonzaga. You didn't want them. You didn't want them, so I took them.
I still don't want them.
All right, well, we had an earthquake here in LA this morning, which means we're going to have plenty to get to today on the show. And we do have to talk about Shannon's team, that undefeated Gonzaga team. You know, they had their first true test of the tournament on Saturday night against the Cinderella UCLA. After forcing overtime, the Bruins tied it up with just over 3 seconds to go, thanks to a putback from Johnny Juzang. But there was just enough time for Jalen Suggs to get the ball past half court and bank home the game-winning shot at the buzzer. I jumped to my feet after watching that one. Shannon, what percent was this shot luck and what percent was skill?
Skip, watching this game, it wasn't the game that I expected, but it was the game I'm glad we got. Because Fox Bet, I think, had the game going off at 13.5 minus 14. So Gonzaga
I saw it as high as 15.
Yeah, so Gonzaga was really expected to blow them out. Mm-hmm. And everybody kept expecting UCLA to be on borrowed time. They'd won in overtime. They beat Michigan State in overtime. They dodged a bullet against Michigan. So they just on borrowed time. They had a great Cinderella run, but it was over. But they weren't quite ready for this game to end. Skip, I go back. The first game I can remember in the tournament goes back to 1978. Kentucky played Duke. And Kyle Macy, Jack Givens, Rick Roby, all those Kentucky. Joe B. Hall was the coach. So that was the first game I can remember. It's hard for me to say that I've seen everyone since then, the Final Four. There haven't been very many games that's been better than this. I'm talking about, Skip, from start to finish. When you look at it, the way UCLA played, and I'm like, man, Gonzaga, hold on, UCLA, y'all played that well in the first half, and you still down a point. How can you play even better? And Gonzaga go on this run, Skip, with a little over 11 minutes left in the ball game. They go up 7. I said, okay, now they're about to open this thing up. But from like 7:40 on, it never got more than one possession ball game, either side. And you're like, wow, they're really playing. Skip, I know you like Jaime Jaquez, and he played well. But Johnny Juzang, he legit. Mm-hmm. He's a 3-level player. He can shoot the 3. He can get to the mid-range game. Mm-hmm. He can post you with his back. He for real, Skip.
Hey, remember, he was a Kentucky recruit.
Yeah, Skip, he gone. Mm-hmm. Hey, his stock ain't gonna never be as high as it is right now. He gone bye-bye.
I got it.
But, Skip, when I look at this game, that shot, it wasn't just the shot for Suggs, Skip. Mm-hmm. It was the block on the dunk, the save the ball, the full-court bounce pass to a streaking Timmy, and then to come back and hit the game winner. Skip, it used to be people thought these shots were luck. But now what they're teaching the kids, and the kids are doing this from the high school level all the way up to the pros, and we see a lot of pros. Skip, they practice these shots now. Now, I'm not saying he tried to bank it in, but he shot a normal shot. We used to think the shots that Steph Curry and Clay and Dame Lillard were shooting was luck. And then we see them do it over and over and over again. You're like, hold on. There's a certain type of skill that takes to make these shots. First of all, you got to have the gumption. Now, I know the waning second, Skip, you got to take that shot. But he shot it like he would shoot a normal shot. Because what you have to understand, Skip, is that they let him get a head of steam. Yeah, there's only, 3.5, 3.8 seconds. But they let him get a go at it going towards the basket. You got to stop him. They don't pull him up. They let him walk right into a 30-foot 3 and swish. He banked it home. It was an unbelievable shot, Skip, but this kid has it. If somebody else would have taken that shot, Skip, I might have said, Skip, there's a lot of luck. But you don't be Mr. Football in the state of Minnesota, Mr. Basketball in the state of Minnesota, have an opportunity to go to some of these big colleges as a football player. Skip, that was more skill than luck. I'm going to say 85-15.
85 skill.
85% skill, 15%. Because I don't think he called it. I don't know if the bank was open that time. But maybe he had an ATM. So you still can withdraw money from the bank if you got an ATM card. So I like it. Gonzaga, give me my 5Ks and tip it to that lead of yours. You got about 15 up on me, but I get 5 of them back tonight.
Okay. I hear everything you said about the game. The game was spectacular from start to finish. It was back and forth. I was not shocked that UCLA hung in because that's just what they do. That's what they're made of. They also have some it factor to them because they have 3 kids who can create their own shot. Really 4, because all of a sudden Cody Riley started taking jump shots and making his.
Exactly.
And that they have caught fire the way they were the vintage classic March Madness special.
Yep.
They were the classic Cinderella with talent. They were a talented Cinderella.
Right.
Johnny Juzang is gone, but he was a Kentucky recruit. He was a big star out here at Harvard-Westlake High School. And again, Calipari was all over him, and he went there, and it was during the pandemic, and he just got homesick and wanted to come back to UCLA.
Right.
Mick Cronin recruited him, and then Mick Cronin was finally back at UCLA. So no shock that he came home to play for the Bruins, and no shock that he carried them that far because he can play.
He can
like
play.
you said, he can play. He's 6 feet 7 inches tall, and he can shoot it. And he had 2 chances to win the game. And the only thing I did not love about the end of regulation and then at the very near the end of overtime was I thought Juzang should have just pulled up and shot a 3 because he was hot-handed and he could have shot one. We had the quote-unquote charge at the end of regulation when I did not think it was a charge. I thought he went sideways. But the point was, it was a bad shot that he took because he drove it into Timmy. Timmy's 6 feet 10 inches tall, and he had 4 fouls. But he just stood there and did what you have to do at that point, saying, no, you can't run over me.
Because that was the game, Skip. Because just think if they call a foul, that's a 2-point. That's 2 free throws plus Timmy's gone.
Okay, I'm going to give you it wasn't a foul. It was a no call to me. And it didn't matter because, again, Gonzaga got the rebound because there were like 3 other Zags just standing by themselves under the basket. So that's no harm, no foul, no call, whatever. Let's go forward. So then we go to overtime. And again, he drove it instead of pulling up to shoot the 3. And he got a little fortunate because he got a nice carom.
Got a rebound
and he got to just lay it back up. So here we go, 3-point whatever left. And to your point, Jalen Suggs gets a running start. And the kid, David Singleton, who's 6 feet 4 inches tall, was in for UCLA. He's a backup guard. And he does at least kind of get in his way here. So there's some degree of difficulty. He kind of stood. He kind of just stood up and did what he should have done, which is just go straight up because you definitely don't want to foul him and let him have to make only one free throw out of 3. So now we get to luck or skill. I'm sorry, but that is, I'm going to give you 5% skill, but it's no more than 5% because I'll give you the 5% to be able to shoot the ball from that far on the dead run and at least hit the backboard. It takes 5% skill.
But think about it, though, Skip. How hard, I mean, he's shooting the ball going towards the rim. So just imagine the touch that he has to have because normally, Skip, that's a carom. Boom, bank, the ball's way back. To shoot a bank shot from that distance straight on?
Okay, but it's 95% luck because he missed it a foot to the right and he missed it about a foot long. And you can't tell me he was aiming at the backboard from that angle because he just wasn't aiming at the backboard here. Juzang makes a shot, and here we go again. And remember, this is from an angle. So to make this off the backboard, it has to carom it has to hit a little to the right of the rim for it to go down through the rim at an angle. A lot of times these shots are made dead straight on, and at least if you're going right at the basket, you have to keep it dead on line to backboard it. On this case, he's trying to shoot it. You can't tell me he wasn't trying to swish it because in your mind's eye, you don't think, I think I'll bank this.
He's trying to make it. He's just trying to make it.
He's just trying to swish it. He's trying to make it through the rim on the fly. And it's a little wide right, and it's about a foot long, and yet it just hits perfectly, boom, boom, and goes right to the basket. It was just shocking. Boom, boom, through the basket. It was like, oh, my God, he just banked in the game winner. Well, obviously, because you have given me the field, I'm rooting for the Bruins. And obviously, I'm like, give me a you-know-what. and I'm screaming and yelling, and Ernestine's sitting with me, my wife, and Hazel's barking at me because I'm out of my mind. But Ernestine's point was, what a great shot. I said, no, it's pure luck at that point, and I tweeted it was pure luck because I hate to see a great game end on a shot like that. It marred the game for me. And I was a little disappointed in Jalen Suggs because he immediately runs and jumps up on the scores table and he said, I wanted to do what Kobe and Dwayne Wade did. Okay, I got that. But did you make a skill shot? No, you made a pure luck shot. Again, I'll give you 5% skill, but I'm doing 95% luck. I would be a little sheepish about it. I'd be like rolling my eyes like, thank you, God, we
No,
advanced.
I'm in the tournament history. I'm in tournament lore. I'm in tournament lore. Now every time, move over Christian Laettner.
Christian Laettner?
Yes.
Christian Laettner made what he tried to shoot. He tried to shoot it through the rim, and it went through the rim. He didn't bank it in.
Skip, they count the same.
Okay, but one's luck and one's skill. Well, Christian Laettner's shot is pure skill. You have to catch, turn, fall away, and shoot and make.
And you've never seen Christian Laettner make another shot like that at the end of his life, in his NBA career, anything.
Well, he made an all-star team.
He did, good. But I'm just saying, Skip, just catch the ball, turn and shoot. We've never seen him do that again. Skip, at some point, look, I get it. I get it. It was a situation where, sure, you like to have the guy have a 15-footer, but the time would not allow him to get that close to the basket. He pulled up from 30. He was trying, yes, he was, of course, I'm just trying to make it. If it goes out the glass, Kawhi Leonard did not mean to shoot the ball to hit the rim 15 times and go through.
What did I call it? I said it's the luckiest shot I'd ever seen.
Let me get the shot up.
Okay.
And then let's see what happens.
Okay. So Mark Few immediately on CBS called it a quote-unquote lucky shot. But then Mark Few sort of rhapsodized after the game as he got caught up in the moment. It was a great moment for Gonzaga. He said, I just knew, I'm paraphrasing his quotes, but he said, I just knew when it was in Jalen's hands and he shot it, I just knew it was good. You knew it was going to bank in, but he's just saying he's magic. You know, he's got what you said, the it factor.
Can I ask you a question? How many times in college do you think these kids attempt these 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 shots? In high school, how many times have they practiced in the backyard? Clock's running down, 3, 2, 1. How many times?
Well, he said he shot it on his mini hoop in his backyard. Did Jalen Suggs?
Yeah.
Well, did he try to aim at the backboard? No, he tried to aim at the rim.
You just, Skip, even aiming at the rim, okay, he was a little long, but he had to put it on target because...
No, he didn't. It was a wide right.
It wasn't, Skip, you make it seem like he hit the side of the backboard.
No, it has to go a little wide right or it's not going to go in from that angle.
Yeah.
If he shoots it straight at the rim and it hits the backboard, it's going to be way long left.
But, Skip, he's at an angle. It's not like he's dead center court. So he's at an angle, and he's shooting it at the same angle that if you shoot that shot, Skip, you can't shoot. If I'm on the right, I can't shoot a shot dead center. I ain't that good.
Okay, yeah, you can. You can try to aim at the rim. You can't tell me he was not aiming at the rim.
Skip, he aimed at the rim, Skip.
Okay, and it faded a little right.
Skip.
It went right.
Skip.
Well, it had to go right or it's not going to bank in.
Right, but I'm saying, you look at the angle in which he was. He was coming up on the right-hand side, correct? Yeah. So he's off. He can't shoot a dead center shot.
Yes, he can if he's trying to swish it. Yes, you can. You shoot it straight at the rim.
So you discounting him because it banked it in and didn't switch.
Okay, is he a very good three-point shooter? Is he a deadly three-point shooter? No, he's not, because up to that point in this tournament, during March Madness, this NCAA tournament, Jalen Suggs was 4 of 19 until that shot. Now he's 5 of 20, which is 25% three-point shooting, including the miraculous one, the lucky one, okay? So he for the year, he's 33%, which is not terrible, but it's not very good.
No.
Okay? So it's not like he's a dead-eye shooter from distance. We're not talking about Steph here. We're not talking about Dame here.
Well, I'm not so sure that if he was a dead-eye shooter, they don't even let him get the ball. I think the thing is, you want the ball. You don't want the ball in Kirkpatrick's hands, do you? You don't want the ball in his hand because he's a better three-point shooter.
Oh, he's definitely their best three-point shooter.
Okay, like you said, the only problem that I have is they allowed him to get a running start and they didn't hit him off at half court. You can't keep retreating. You got to make him pick that dribble up and shoot a shot further than a normal 30-footer. If he shoots that shot from half court, you live with it, Skip, and you have to live with this anyway because, like you said, you don't want to foul that guy and put him on the line. He makes one free throw with no time on the clock. You go home.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is, Skip, is that these guys practice these shots in these moments, even though, Skip, it's hard to recreate that, but you're counting down your head. I'm sure the coach might even just put, okay, guys, we got 5 seconds on the clock. Everybody, pick a spot.
No doubt.
And let it fly.
Okay, Mark Few said he's made a bunch of those in practice.
Yes.
I don't know if he's banked them in or not. If you want to sell me on he just willed it in off the backboard, I guess I'll give you a little bit of that. Is he just March Magic? Is that what he is?
It might be a crying moment, Skip. It's like the 2-minute drill. People should not be in awe by what Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and all these great quarterbacks do because they practice 2 minutes every single week. You get in that situation, and I remember with Mike Shannon, my head coach, we would put down and distance. We might need a field goal. Skip, we might need a touchdown to get the lead. But we had X amount of time. We're this far on the field, and we got to go get a score. So you practice these situations. They practice that situation. Now, Brandon, like you said, I'm sure in the course of the game, in the course of practice, somebody has banked in a shot, but it counts the same.
Okay, it counts the same, but we're doing luck or skill. And I even think you say in your heart of hearts, it's luck.
No, because he shot it. He shot it like he would shoot his normal shot. Now, he was a little off, but Skip, he shot. It's not like he heaved the ball or he threw it with one hand. He shot it like he was shooting a shot, like he was shooting a jumper. Okay. But it was a little further than what he would normally shoot.
But he had a head of steam, so it's not like you need any momentum. You don't have to just go up from a standstill and shoot a jump shot. Right. That's hard to get it that far. But I give you 5% skill just to hit the backboard from there.
But here's the thing. When you're running that fast towards the rim, you got to have just enough loft with just enough speed. Too much, Skip, it hits the backboard and bounces back to half court. Okay. So just imagine, you're running full speed ahead and you shoot a shot. How hard that ball is going to go up against the backboard. But he had to take something off it.
Well, he didn't take enough because it was at least a foot
he took just enough.
Okay.
It got like with a kiss.
Oh, so you're saying he aimed at the backboard. No, he did not aim at the backboard.
Just the touch. It's all about touch.
Here's what I believe. My final takeaway is you became the classic prisoner of the moment because you're rooting for Gonzaga because you picked them, you took them against the field, and you got swept up in the euphoria of the moment. And you thought it was the greatest college basketball game you've ever seen.
Skip, look, we just saw 4 years ago, we saw Carolina-Villanova, Skip.
Did we?
Page hits an off-balance 3 to tie the game, and then Chris Jenkins hits a dribble handoff, 3-pointer to win the game. Skip, we've seen Michael Jordan. We've seen guys hit shots. Lorenzo Charles into the national championship skip on a miss, and he dunked it. Okay, so here real quickly are my top games that I ever saw, and I actually covered most of these games, was the Michael Jordan game against Georgetown in 1982. It was the greatest collection of talent I've ever seen on one college floor. But see, that's why you discount this one. The level of talent that was on the court at the time. Even if you go back to NC State, Houston, Skip, the level of talent on the Clyde Drexler, Akeem Olajuwon, Thurl Bailey, the collection of talent.
Okay, but it did come down to Jordan's last shot as a freshman. He was known as Mike Jordan. And then number 2 on that list you just mentioned was NC State and Houston. And I thought Phi Slamma Jam, after they just blew Louisville off the floor in an NBA game in the semifinal, I thought they were invincible. And you know the rest of that story. There's no shot clock. And then you have Georgetown, Villanova, the classic upset in 85. And then you got the Key Smart game, Indiana-Syracuse, where Key Smart for Bobby Knight, JC transfer, makes the shot of shots. I was there at courtside for all of those games. And then we've got that Kansas-Memphis game, the Derrick Rose versus Mario Chalmers game in overtime. And it was just crazy, go nuts the whole way. I thought that was a better game than this game.
I think, like I said, Skip, I think a lot of times what made those games classic is that when you go back and look at it, you look at the talent that was on the court for both teams. I'm not so sure that when we look at it, and we believe Suggs is going to be a lottery pick, and Juzang might be a great player, but it wasn't James Worthy, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing. There wasn't those guys. There wasn't a Clyde Drexler, a Akeem Olajuwon, Thurl Bailey. There was none of those Wittenbergs. There was none of those guys.
I mean, Timmy is growing on me. He looks like he can play. I don't think he's going to be a star, but I think he can play.
Skip, when you look at what he did to the kid Mobley at USC, now the Mobley kid is more talented, but this kid has skill. He has a knack. He understands angle. That's Baylor's problem. Dealing with him in the low block, because Baylor plays 3 guards. All 3 guys can get their shot off, can get to the rim. But when you play 3 guards, you're small. Skip, UCLA, Skip, they shot 58, 59%. You can't play. Even in Cronin, like, they wanted the guard, I forget his name, Skip, but he wanted to run. And Cronin, no. We're not getting to do a track meet with these guys.
Tiger Campbell.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, look, at what we're going to do, if there's an absolute chance to run, we'll run. If not, we're going to pull it back. Hence, no fast break points. We're going to play like that. We're not going to get into a track meet.
Guess what the final score was? It was high.
Skip, when you shoot 50, one team shoots 58, that's the highest shooting percentage team between two teams. In NCAA history, you got to go back to 85. Georgetown, Villanova.
Final score, 93-90. So they both go over 90.
But what did I say, Skip, at the beginning of the tournament? How many teams can get to 80? Because Gonzaga's going to get to 80 points. Can you get to 80? More times than not, Skip, they were getting in the 90s. So that's the question. Can Baylor get to 80? Or can they force Gonzaga to shoot less than 50% and hold them and say, we might not get to 80, but you won't get to 80 either? Can they do that?
Well, I saw Saturday, you may not have watched this game, but I saw Baylor get to 45 in the first half against a really big, physical, good defensive basketball team in Houston.
We'd have got to 60 on that team. We'd have got to 60 on that team. Well, we're going to see.
How many are you going to give me tonight?
No, you don't get nothing. We already got the bet. We already made the bet before the tournament started.
Well, I deserve a second bet. What, maybe 10? Seems like a double-digit game.
Why you do that? Why you try to dismiss the man's shot because your team lost?
I'm not dismissing it. It was just 95% luck, and so don't give me classic game. It wasn't a championship game. All those games I gave you were championship games.
No, they weren't. Christian Laettner hit that shot. He was not a championship.
I didn't talk about Christian Laettner. You brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
But it was a great shot.
Okay, it was. It's a regional final.
Skip, I'm not saying that, like you said, those other shots happen in championship moments. But in the Final Four, there's only been a handful of those shots. And because the game back and forth, Skip, I mean, what it was, it was a two-possession game to 44 to 45 minutes in overtime. One possession game for 35 to 45 minutes. Skip, you can't get any closer than that.
No, it was great to watch until the last shot.
So that's what got you. That's what's in your
No, it tainted a great game.
It ain't tainted. What you mean?
Just a lucky shot. I'm sorry, call it what it is.
How you going to talk about it tainted a great game?
Well, it just did.
That's what we love.
Yes, it did.
That's what we live for with these games.
Well, how did it not? Make a shot.
Okay, Suggs shot. It will live forever in highlight reels, regardless of how you feel about it, Skip.
No mercy.
Over the weekend, the NBA fined Kevin Durant $50,000 for, quote, offensive and derogatory language on social media that surfaced while direct messaging actor and comedian Michael Rapaport. Katie apologized, telling reporters, quote, I'm sorry that people seen that language I used. That's not really what I want people to see and hear from me, but hopefully I can move past it and get back out there on the floor. Guys, Michael Rapaport will join us later in the show, and he will, of course, explain his side of the story. But first, really, Shannon, did the punishment fit here?
Yeah, I thought it was fair. Skip, that's along the lines of what we've seen other guys that utter slurs or what the NBA deemed as inappropriate language. And Kobe got a fine, Rondo got a fine, Myers Leonard got a fine. Although wasn't in the homophobic one, Myers Leonard was a racial, epithet. So for me, yeah, I'm good with that. $50,000 is the maximum allowable fine that the NBA can fine a player under the CBA. So I'm good with that. The only thing I didn't like was Kevin Durant's non-apology.
Yeah,
Skip, I'm sorry that people seen that language I use. That's not really what I want people to see and hear from me. But hopefully I can move past it and get back on the floor.
Yep.
I'm sorry I used that language. That's not how I talk. That's not what he said.
No.
I'm disappointed that you saw that I talked like this. The bigger question is, Skip, okay, what do these endorsers that pay Kevin Durant good money, what do they think about his comments? Because that's ultimately what it comes down to. I just don't get why you. I get, Skip, like I said, when you're comfortable, you get into a disagreement, you say things, and a lot of times what we do is that we get into an argument, Skip, we go to the thing that we feel will cut the deepest. What can we say, though? What is the most hurtful thing that we can say? Because I want this person to feel the anger and the fury that I'm feeling right now. So I'm going to say the most hateful thing that I can think of.
Yep.
Come on, Katie, we better than this, bro. I don't get it. Skip, I'm not going to DM somebody that constantly criticizes me. Why would I want to have a conversation? You've already let me know what you thought of me, be it it's your job or whatever. So why am I going to go back and forth with you? Why? I mean, I wouldn't expect if I DM someone, I'm having a conversation. I'm not talking about, oh, you this or you that. Well, I don't get the connection between these two. That's the most puzzling thing. And like I said, Michael Rapaport is coming on the show, and I'm going to ask him, Mike, what do you think was going to happen if you released these messages? Exactly what happened. It was going to be a firestorm.
Yep.
But that's the reason, Skip. People keep emails. People keep text messages. People keep voice messages. I don't have not one voicemail. I don't have one text message. I erase everything. What am I keeping it for? I know what you said. What, at some point in time you make me mad, I'm going to throw it back up in your face and let somebody else see it? Nah. Come on. It was bad all the way around, but to make a long story short and a short story long, the punishment fit the crime. There was no crime, but Skip, you get what I'm saying. The punishment fit what he said and what what the NBA could actually do as far as the CBA. So I'm cool with it. And like he said, KD, hopefully we can move past this, but I just wish you had issued a better apology. Says, I'm sorry, guys, this is not the way I speak. I was wrong for this. Yep. And not say, I'm sorry that you saw it. You heard it. That's not an apology.
I so agree with you about the non-apology apology. That wasn't enough. I wanted to hear more from a man I have so much respect for as a basketball player. I still think he's the best player on the planet. We have not seen his basketball talent on the floor for a very long time. Yep. Maybe we will in the very near future.
Since February 13th.
Hamstring. But in this case, this is a very fine line, a very tricky line that we're dealing with here. DMs meant to be private.
Correct.
Made public.
Yes.
But they were made public. And I hearken back to the worst case of this. The most glaring example of this was obviously Donald Sterling, the former owner of the Clippers, made some very racist remarks in private to his then girlfriend that she made public.
Correct.
And it confirmed many people within the Clippers organization's suspicions about Donald Sterling's feelings about black people. But it confirmed them, and it cost Donald Sterling his basketball team.
Correct.
So here we go with the Kevin Durant $50,000 fine. And yet Myers Leonard was suspended for a week. Now he's gone for the rest of the season, so they just
the team suspended him, not the league.
The team. But he did get a suspension.
Correct.
And yet in that case, he's already had surgery and is out for the rest of the year, so he just couldn't come around the Heat facilities for a week. Not a big deal, but at least it demonstrated the depth of the Heat's issues with him and what he said.
Correct.
We're going to talk more about what he said in relation to Carlton Davis just in a few minutes here on the show. Here we go again. But in this case, I wanted to see Kevin suspended, even if you want to call it your basic wrist slap suspension, for a game or 2 games or even a week. He's out now anyway. It probably wouldn't have mattered. It would just have shown a little more. You could argue the Nets could have done that. The Nets said, starting with their new head coach, that we all talk to him and we know where he stands and we feel good about blah, blah, blah. Like we had great conversations with him. Again, I'm looking forward, as you are, to talking to Michael Rapaport, guy we have as a contributor on this show. And he's had lots of time to think about what happened, and he'll have maybe a different perspective on it. So can't wait to hear that side of that story, and we will cross-examine later in the show. But from my communications with Michael that night that it all hit the fan, it's Tuesday night going into our show on Wednesday, I believe that he was somewhere between feeling threatened and angry because Kevin had introduced the wife into it somehow, into the back and forth on DMs, and that really angered Michael. And he also felt somewhere between threatened and like there was an intimidation factor here because it was very threatening language. And it really made Kevin Durant look bad. And again, as much respect as I have for him on the court, I've lost off the court because he's got the thinnest skin of any superstar I've ever closely observed. And I've said that many, many times on this show, but that dates all the way back to his Oklahoma City days. And I've never understood it because he's so much better than this. He is so great. What does he care about what people say on Twitter or Instagram? In the end, what does he really care about what superfan Michael Rapaport says?
I think, Skip, Samuel Jackson had a quote. He says, in order for me to value what your opinion, I have to care. Kevin Durant cares too much about what other people think of him.
And these are a lot of people he does not know on Twitter.
He's probably, a lot of these people that be atting him and stuff like that is never going to meet Kevin Durant.
Nope.
But he values. Skip, and I get it. Sometimes it bothers you when Skip, the old heads with a Barkley or some of the old heads. If Magic Johnson was to say something, Skip, these were all-time great players. Magic won championships with an MVP. So you're going to take what, hold on, damn. Magic Johnson said that. Let me give a second. Let me reevaluate some things.
Agreed.
But a guy that doesn't, look, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're going to critique my game and say what?
Yep.
You would think that Kevin Durant would just keep on stepping. But for whatever reason, it bothers him. I think the thing, at the end of the day, Skip, it comes back to LeBron. He said it. He said, if LeBron James is the GOAT, I went to his house and beat him twice, what does that make me? Nobody has really ever said Kevin Durant is a better player than LeBron James. Now, you might think it, but for the most part, LeBron is regarded as a better player than Kevin Durant, even though Kevin Durant beat him head-to-head.
He did.
So the validation that he thought he was going to get by winning championships and beating that guy to get it never came. So he's saying to himself, damn, what do I have to do to get the credit that I deserve?
Yep. Okay. So I've tried to read into Kevin's behavior, erratic behavior, reckless behavior. I've tried to read in Jordan-esque because what was Michael's MO? He would create feuds with people that didn't even exist. But those feuds that he created were with rival players or rival coaches. People who counted, people who mattered.
I think the thing is, Skip, sometimes I wish, but then I was like, hey, I was in that era too. If they'd have had social media. Because, Skip, we didn't have 24-hour news cycles like we have it now.
Nope.
And everybody that had a cell phone, that had internet, all of a sudden became an analyst or a columnist or an opinionist. They didn't have that. So it would have been very, very interesting to see had this transpired in the 80s and the 90s, where everybody has a camera phone and everybody could document what was going on and what was being said. How different would some of these guys have turned out to be?
Don't know. Great question. I just don't think Michael Jordan would have stooped to responding to some kid in Des Moines. I just don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. He has not demonstrated that kind of behavior post-career.
Right.
But Kevin has from the start.
There's a reason why, Skip, he doesn't even have social media. So that's why he said, I can't even respond because I don't have social media. Jumpman, somebody else handles the Jumpman brand to his social media page. So he's like, I ain't going to even bother. No, I mean, it's just bad. Like I said, I just wish Kevin would have said, guys, I'm sorry for the language that I use. That's really not the person that I am. And I hate that it became, I let my emotions get the best of me. And I went to a place. Skip, we wear face masks. And you talking about spitting in the man's face. I mean, so we joking. Now think about it. We getting vaccinated. We social distancing. They're relaxing some of the guidelines. But you're talking about spitting on the man. And he's supposed to be like, oh, okay. Well, he brought it on himself. Hey, I'm not saying that Michael Rapaport is not without fault.
I agree, but according to Michael, to me, they were friendly in the beginning, back and forth, DMing, friendly, having ha-ha, funny conversations. And all of a sudden, Michael dared to criticize Charles in I believe it was a tweet. It was over the Charles interview.
The TNT interview, right.
And Kevin took it so personally that it escalated, according to Michael. And then Michael says, I tried to de-escalate it. I tried to make ha-ha jokes about it. Wouldn't de-escalate. And then he started back again. And it sounds like once you rub Kevin Durant the wrong way, here we go. And you're not going to get it back. And he couldn't get it back. And it got so vile that finally Michael said, I had a bad day on Tuesday. He caught me on the wrong day at the wrong time. We've all been there for that. I'm not overly defending. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. And yet, Kevin Durant has a track record of this on social media. This is not the first time something like this has happened. This is a man who has created burner accounts, at least one that I know of, to defend himself.
Well,
Kevin Durant
looks like KD had a bad day too. You had two guys that got caught each other on the wrong day at the right time, and this is what transpired. And so this is what you have to know yourself. And sometimes, Skip, we don't always have our best, but sometimes when I'm not feeling well, I limit me going somewhere. I don't go to the gym, or I wouldn't go shopping. I don't be out in public. Because, Skip, I'm not going to always be upbeat. Nobody is upbeat all the time. So what you try to do, know me. I know me. Shannon, okay, you don't feel it today, bro. Stay your butt at home.
Got it.
KD, you know how you are, bro. Don't go back and forth with people. You too good. This doesn't paint you in a good light. I know your mom is a little disappointed because we've had on several times, Skip, and your mom Wanda did a great job of raising an outstanding young man
in so many ways.
Don't throw away with some bull jive going back and forth with some people on Twitter, IG, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. Don't do that, KD. You better than that.
I have a good enough sense of Kevin Durant that I'd like to believe his heart is in the right place. His head's not always in the right place, but I still want to cling to the notion that there's a lot of good in Kevin Durant.
Yes.
And we know Michael. I think there's a lot of good in Michael.
It is.
So here we go.
Yeah, but Skip, I'm not gonna DM somebody. I'm not gonna DM somebody and go back and forth with them in the DM, Skip.
I hope not.
It's positive. Hey man, how you doing? Good game, something like that. Skip. Hey, congratulations, yada yada yada. But
and to your point, once you write it and send it, it's out there.
Right.
It's out there. It's forever.
And then you never know people's intentions because they screenshot it and it's there. Well, I didn't do that. Well, the receipt said you did. I got a long receipt.
Yep.
It obviously went too far, but like you guys mentioned, Michael Rapaport will join us later, so we're going to get his side of the story as well. But I want to get back to college basketball here. Baylor had no problems dismissing Houston in their Final Four matchup and will now face Gonzaga in the final. The two teams were scheduled to meet in December, but that game was canceled. So now the two lost Baylor Bears will have a chance to hand Gonzaga their first loss of the season tonight. Shannon, who wins this one, Gonzaga or Baylor?
Well, Skip forced my hand because he wouldn't give me multiple picks. He said, you got Gonzaga, I'm taking the field. So
I believe that you proposed that bet to begin with. I did not push you into that corner.
Well, I wanted Baylor and Gonzaga, but you weren't going to give me both of those.
No.
So I took Gonzaga, and I still believe, Skip, they're the best team. Offensively, Skip, I mean, you look at it. They scored 85 against USC, who held Oregon to 68, Kansas to 51. Gonzaga, and they scored 93 against UCLA, who held Michigan to 49. So they can go get buckets. And they're loaded. I mean, they got just the right mix, upperclassmen and lowerclassmen. Suggs is a freshman, but then you get Timmy, you got Kispert, and you got, I think it's Ayayi.
Yep.
So, Skip, you got a great mix. Baylor put so much pressure on you with those three guards because each guard can handle the ball, can get to the paint, and can distribute. Now, you're a little small when you play three guards, Skip, unless you got 3'6" Magic Johnsons. Then you're fine on the board. But you're a little small. The question is, what do they do with Timmy? Skip, because for thus far in the tournament, nobody's had an answer for it.
They have not.
And so if you can't stop him, because their offense is so efficient, they get him backdoor cut, layup after layup. Yeah, they can shoot the three, but they haven't been very good shooting the three in the tournament. And they've still been blowing people out with the exception of UCLA. So Baylor's going to have their hands full no matter how well they play, because we saw UCLA play damn near a perfect game and still end up losing. So it's going to be a very interesting game. I'm going to take Gonzaga. Like I said, I just don't think they have an answer for Timmy, and he'll be the difference in the ball game, and he'll be most outstanding player of the tournament.
Okay. I cannot disagree with anything you just said. I was hoping that some upstart, some Cinderella, would shock Gonzaga because Gonzaga would have one bad shooting night.
Right.
They're not a great three-point shooting team. No. They're not a great free throw shooting team. And I thought somewhere along this trail, they'll have that one night, and it should have been UCLA.
Right.
Where they just get outplayed and outshot by a team that suddenly caught fire in March Madness style. So that was the game I thought they would lose. But I thought if they could get to Baylor, and I didn't pick Baylor to be in my Final Four because, as Jenny said, there was a game scheduled December 5th in Indianapolis, and it got canceled because of COVID.
Right.
And it felt like Baylor's entire schedule got upended by COVID problems, just all kinds of issues back and forth. Sometimes it was them, sometimes it was their opponent.
Right.
And they never could get it together the whole year. I knew they were really good because they start 2 seniors and 3 juniors, and that was a good team a year ago.
Right.
So I knew they were very good. But when I watched them lose at Kansas late in the year and then turn right around and lose to Oklahoma State, and Cade Cunningham just went off on them, had 25 and 8, I think 5 assists. Then I thought, they just can't find their rhythm, and they're not going to find it.
You don't need to be playing this bad heading into the tournament.
Yeah. So then they beat Hartford by 24 and Wisconsin by 13 and Villanova by 11 and Arkansas by 9 and then Houston the other day by 19. And I said, legit.
Yeah.
They're back. But I will agree with you. If this were just one game that I had to bet on in a vacuum, I would not take Baylor in this game. Mm-hmm. I think you're right. Gonzaga is a little better than Baylor because they're better offensively. Mm-hmm. I will buy that. And the way they push the ball, the way they share the ball, the way they get up and down, it's electrifying to me. It's been a long time in college basketball since I saw a team be able to push it with this high degree of skill and efficiency. Usually when you push it, the ball's in the fifth row half the time.
That's what Gonzaga wants. Now, that plays right into Gonzaga's hand because, see, Gonzaga was trying to 1-3 press UCLA to try to speed them up. Yeah. But they were giving up in wide-open corner threes to Hawkins and Juzang. So now the question is, you don't have to worry about that. Baylor's looking to press.
Yeah.
Baylor's looking to push the tempo. So do you play right into the hand and say, okay, we want an up and down game. We want a game in the 80s, 90s, maybe even get to 100. Skip, would I be surprised if both teams play their capabilities? This game's going to be in the 90s.
It should be in the 90s. And I don't think Baylor will play out of character. I don't think they will back down and give in to Gonzaga. Right. I think they'll just say, we're going to do what we do. And if you want to do it too, we will match you with us.
Right.
We will fight fire with fire.
Right.
And before I leave your Timmy issue, I don't know how Baylor stops him. Maybe in more of an open court game, but he gets up and down with the best of them. This 6'10" kid can run the floor like a demon.
The bounce pass that Suggs threw after the block was to him.
It was. And that was a hellacious pass. That was the pass of the tournament. Off the block was great, but it was a blindside block. He just caught Cody Riley unawares. He's going up and he didn't see him come from the side. But still, it's a winner's play, and that kid has winning intangibles. I'm not sure he went and got the ball cleanly. I thought it hit the inline before he snatched it and turned and threw it.
Right.
But he threw a strike of a bounce pass full court. But listen, here we go.
This is right here.
Here it is. Way to go.
Yeah, he's in bounds.
Yeah, okay.
But look at this bounce. Skip, that's between two people and there's another guy already back there.
Yeah, but Timmy is running the floor like he's 6'3".
Yes.
That's what, and he's 6'10".
Yes.
Well, it's hard to deal with that. Yeah. And he is so clever in the paint. He is so crafty in the paint. He is so skilled with the ball going either way. He'll go left, he'll go right. He can dunk it on you. He can lay it off the glass.
He has the athleticism, Skip, of Jokic.
Jokic
does. Is not athletic, but Jokic got so many moves. The kid, Skip, he was dropped like in overtime, the drop steps. Yeah. Getting to his left hand off the glass. He's like, oh, you right over there? Okay, don't worry about it. I'm going this place. Left hand kiss.
And here's my X factor for Gonzaga. This is going to be the one that's hard to stop. You mentioned him. IE is the difference maker for that team because what an athlete he is. He's like a bigger Schroeder to me in athletic ability. He scored 22 the other day. And every time it looked like Gonzaga was in trouble, I thought he hit the key shots that kept the game in bounds for them, where it didn't get out of hand, didn't get away from them. So now I turn to the Baylor Bears. I will tell you this. Mark Vidal, one of those guards, is 6'5". You ready for this? 250 pounds. So one of their guards weighs 250. He's like Charles Barkley.
Right.
So that's how they rebound. They're one of the top rebounding differential teams in the country. On overall defensive efficiency, they're ranked second to Gonzaga. And in field goal, opponents' field goal percentage, they're ranked first in the country. So they play high. These are two high level. These are, you could argue, the two best defensive teams in basketball. You're going to see them going against each other, but they both can score like crazy.
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about, number 11, Mark Vidal. They say he a guard. He ain't no guard.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they put him as a guard.
Football team.
Okay, I got it.
Basketball team.
Okay, so what does Baylor do a little better than Gonzaga? Well, they shoot the three a little better because for the year, they're 41% as a team.
Well, that's what happened to Houston.
Okay, that
they
works.
played 8 in the first half.
Ooh, that will work.
Yes.
Both of them are 73% from the free throw line. And the reason I thought that Gonzaga was going to lose on Saturday was They made 12 of 20 free throws, so they missed 8 free throws. That should get you beat in a game of this magnitude. UCLA missed 7 free throws, but they missed 8. And then UCLA made 8 threes to 7 for Gonzaga. Well, I thought that's the recipe for success there. That's the recipe for an upset, but they couldn't quite pull it off. And it came down to one shot that banked in. But the point is, now we look at Baylor. How do they go? Well, in the end, those guards will get up into you, as they say in basketball.
Davion Mitchell.
And, hey, Davion Mitchell Jr. is, he is a junior. He will fight you, scratch you, claw you like nobody can. He was the Defensive Player of the Year in college basketball. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be up in Jalen Suggs. And that's going to be the battle of the night.
Yep.
That's going to be a lot of will and skill. Like, who wants that more? Who's got the March magic? Who has the it factor? Because Davion Mitchell has the it factor for Baylor. He doesn't score a lot, but remember, look at Jalen Suggs. You say he's got the it factor. Guess what he averages for the year? 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Well, that doesn't scream superstar, right?
No.
It's not like Magic versus Bird in 1979. He's not putting up those kind of numbers. No. But he's putting up it kid numbers because he is the it kid for Gonzaga. I give you that.
And those 3 guards, Jared Butler, Macy O'Teague, and Davion Mitchell, Baylor goes as they go.
They do.
Because each guy can take you off the dribble. Each guy can get to the paint. And they shoot the ball, especially Butler. Butler shoots the ball really well. He was the hot
hand the other day, Jared
And
Butler.
so that's the question. You said 3-point. Now, Corey Kispert, was an All-American.
He was.
He was Conference Player of the Year, Skip.
And he's
doing a game.
He's a senior.
He's doing a game. Timmy and these other guys kind of been carrying him in the tournament.
Yeah.
So he's doing a game. Now, you're the All-American. You're the Conference Player of the Year.
Yep. No, he shot in the tournament. He shot 45% from 3, so he's had some big games.
He hit some big threes the other night, Skip. Their game was getting out of hand, and then he hit a 3, and then he put that pull-up jumper, Skip. I think to tie the game at late in the ball game.
Right.
So he's played well, but I'm looking for him to have that All-American type game, that Conference Player of the Year type game.
Okay. So if this is the up-and-down NBA-style shootout game that we hope to see, that we think we might see, up in the 90s, maybe even the winner going over 100, if this is a recreation of what I watched in the semifinal in 1983 in Albuquerque, I was there for Phi Slamma Jamma against Louisville.
Yeah.
It was,
but they had like 20 dunks.
It was just dunk city. It was just up and down. It was as wild an NBA college game as I have ever seen. And I thought it was obviously way over for NC State. It was like 8 seed, I think they were that year.
Yep.
And
they had to win the tournament. They had to win the ACC tournament, Skip, just to get into the tournament.
Okay. So here's one advantage if it is 100-98 that Baylor has over Gonzaga. They play 8 players, and I mean they play them a lot. They're going to play them 25-plus minutes each. And Gonzaga barely plays 7 because 2 will come in, but they'll play very low minutes. So it's basically 5 on 8. That's what's going to happen. Will Gonzaga's starting 5 get worn out by the pace because it's going to be fast and furious tonight?
Yep, you're right.
Okay.
Because their starters, all of them played at least 37 minutes.
Okay. And finally.
But they're young, Skip. When you're young, you can play that kind of time. They can play all 50 minutes.
Okay. My X factor tonight for my Skip Baylor Bears is Matthew Meyer. He is the white kid who comes in from Austin.
Oh, yeah. He got a little stash going on, too. Yeah.
Okay. He's 6 feet 9 inches tall, and he comes in with a green light.
Yeah, he does.
And he is actually their best scorer, but he sort of Ginobili's it off the bench. So to me, he's the X factor for them. And if there could be an outstanding player for Baylor just in tonight's game, he would be the guy.
Yeah.
If my team is going to pull off what I believe will be an upset, because they're about a 5-point underdog, I believe that Matthew Meyer will have to come in and make big shots. He can shoot. He's a 40% three-point shooter, and he can spin it and dunk it and do just about anything you want to do it. I think he can play in the NBA, but right now he's coming off the bench, and he seems to enjoy the role as a fire starter off the bench.
Hey, he still get the same number of shots as if he was starting, so he good.
Okay, so in a vacuum, I wouldn't bet a drop of dew on this game, but I already made the bet. So I'm going to hang in with the Baylor Bears, And I will go 100-98 because I think it's going to require that to pull this upset
off. Yeah, I definitely think if the teams play to their capabilities, I believe it's going to be an up-and-down ball game. I agree. I think it's going to be somewhere in the high 80s, 90s. It might get to 100. I mean, I can't remember last time. I don't know if I've ever seen a championship game. I think UNLV, the first time they might have got to 100.
I believe they did.
When they beat Duke the first time around.
Yep.
So it's been a long time since we saw a championship game.
Maybe tonight. Can't wait.
It really has been just an incredible tournament. Men and women. We can also say congrats to Stanford and the women on their championship win as well.
Man, they got lucky both times.
That was
Carolina impressive. That won that game.
That was impressive. I just want to make sure we point that one out.
No mercy.
The MLB announced that they will be moving this year's All-Star Game and Draft out of Atlanta after Georgia passed new laws on voting restrictions. After the announcement, the Braves covered their All-Star Game patches that were previously displayed on opening day. And meanwhile, the Masters will continue as planned this week. And the PGA Tour said in a statement that they plan to keep the Tour Championship in Atlanta in September. So, Shannon, I want to start with you. What is your reaction here?
I like the move by MLB. I like they're taking a stand and Skip. At some point in time, you're going to have to put action to your words. You say you're about inclusion. You say you're about doing the right thing. At some point in time, you have to put those actions into words. I mean, put those words into action. Yep. And that's what they're doing, Skip. Now, you're going to be relegated to where you can take this game to. Because there's a lot of other states that's doing the exact same thing as Georgia. Texas, Florida. So Florida, you're off the list. Texas, you're off the list. There are a lot of states that are doing the exact same thing that Georgia did. Now, Skip, what I don't understand, and this is what's confusing with me. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham was on the under ticket for President Trump. President Trump lost the election because of fraud, but they won the election. They won their Senate races. It was fair and square. I'm confused, Skip. How does that work? Well, the top guy lost, but my election was fair and square, so let's do something about it. Now, in 2016, we know for a fact Russia tried to interfere. Mitch McConnell would do nothing. He wouldn't even bring it to the floor. Now, you want to put these rights because what they see, Skip, there's a changing of the guard. More people are becoming of age to vote, and they're minorities, and they're voting. So instead of changing your messaging and try to reach out to a new base, what do? We're going to try to restrict so you can't. It shouldn't be harder to vote than to get a gun. Now, what's wrong with that picture, Skip? You notice that they're making it harder for you to vote than to get that gun. No, we don't want to do nothing with the gun. No, I want my Second Amendment. What is more democratic than their right to vote? Now, America, people are looking at us because you go around the world and say, oh, we want fair elections. And when dictators and they try to put a stranglehold on the process of democracy, you all up in arms. You go in there and you do this and you do that. But right here in America, the same thing is happening. They're trying to take us back. As soon as we get one step, just a little bit of say so, it bothered them, Skip, that Georgia went red. We got two senators. Got the first black senator in Georgia history, Raphael Warnock. We got a Jewish congressman, Ossoff. That bothered them, Skip. So what they saw is that, hold on, man, Florida's still slowly creeping. North Carolina's slowly creeping. Georgia went over the edge. Texas slowly creeping. Man, we got to do something about this here. Too many people, hey, man, they starting to vote. So instead of changing your messaging and trying to appeal to a larger base of people, now what we're going to do, we like our base. Well, your base ain't strong enough, bro. Because what's happening is that the people see what you're trying to do. President Biden said, you know what? We're going to let you keep Obamacare. What we're going to try to do, the middle class, we're going to let you bring home more money. We're going to put a bigger tax on the wealthy. We're in that tax bracket. Hell, I'm looking at the state of California. We go to 12%. But federal tax, they going up. Okay, fine. I'm willing to pay my part. The Americans, the wealthy of Americans that's well off, they should be willing to pay their fair share. And so that was the messaging that President Biden got out, and 80+ million people bought it. One guy, hey, we're going to make America great. We're going to do this and this and this and this, and we're going to keep... And they didn't buy it. So I'm glad MLB did it. Skip, I think the Masters is next weekend. It's too hard to pull that out. But I wish the SEC championship, as long as y'all got this, we're not coming back to Georgia. We're not coming back to the Mercedes-Benz Dome. As long as y'all keep this, we're not coming back. And then, because Skip, remember in 95? They said, nah, we Arizona. We ain't going to make this no national holiday. NFL said, okay, we got a trick for you. We're going to take the Super Bowl up out of here. Well, they got the Super Bowl in 95, Skip. I think if I'm not mistaken, they got it in 95, but they were supposed to have it earlier.
Yep.
But they wouldn't make Dr. King a national holiday, so the NFL Commissioner Tagliabue said, don't worry about it. Don't you worry about a thing, y'all. And guess what happened, Skip? It's funny, because that money talk. Because think about the money that All-Star Game would have generated. And think about all the money that these sports generate. People are not sticking to sports anymore. It's not happening. I'm so proud of the MLB because, Skip, a lot of their base is what? Minority. A lot of the people that play that game, they're not white Americans, they're not black Americans. They're Hispanic, they're Dominican. And so the MLB said, we're about inclusion. And what y'all trying to do is not inclusion. So we up out of here. I love it.
Okay. So, as always in these discussions, I disqualify myself because I don't follow politics and voting laws the way you do. You live or you have a home in Atlanta and you're from the state of Georgia. So this is very, very dear to Shannon Sharpe's heart.
Yes.
And I respect and appreciate that. So I just listened to you, not sure where to go with that part, but I do know Major League Baseball. And I grew up the biggest baseball fan you will ever find. And I'll admit, even as a white American, it has lost me in some ways over the last 15 or 20 years. But it has definitely lost much of its black audience over the last couple of generations. I think there are a whole bunch of black kids out there who just lost their interest in baseball because there weren't enough black stars. I grew up in an era where all my favorite players were black players. And I didn't think twice about it. It just was. It's just what it was. But for me, I was a St. Louis Cardinals nut. And when I had Bob Gibson and Lou Brock and Bill White and Kurt Flood, I can go on and on. And back in the days of Henry Aaron, Willie Stargell and Willie Mays, and we can just go on and on and on. It was just a cavalcade of black stars that predominated in the sport. And it was a beautiful thing. And when I talk, I get chill bumps thinking about those days with those black stars. And then slowly but surely that faded. And I know in my early years on ESPN, the constant theme, even when I do shows on Outside the Lines, was what has happened with black players in baseball. And there was a school of thought out there that baseball didn't want black players anymore, that they were too expensive and that they were moving more toward the Latin culture because they came cheaper in the beginning. Whatever. That was one school of thought. Then there was the whole school of thought that black players just didn't want to play baseball anymore because it's not
boring.
It's just boring. It can be boring.
That's what we thought when I was growing up.
Okay, I got it. And the kids who are talented at early ages, they're like, well, I think I'm going to choose football, as you did, or basketball, or both. Because the road to stardom is so long in baseball because I don't want to ride a bus from Walla Walla, Washington to Moscow, Idaho, right? Because that's what you're going to have to do in lower A ball to start off with. And so a lot of the black kids either chose not to or were excluded. I don't know. But we went through a long, hard drought.
And Skip, the thing is with baseball, if you don't pick it up at an early age, I can pick up football at 15, 16 and be good at it. I can pick up basketball at 15, 16. You ain't picking up no baseball at 15 and 16 and talking about be good at it.
The skill level required is extraordinary.
Man, that joker throw that curve ball and you think it's going to hit you in your head and hit dead in the plate and you fall on your butt and it's a strike. And also baseball is a very complex game defensively to play where you have to think fast and know every situation. It's hard. It's why it takes these kids a lot of minor league years to get ready. There are exceptions to the rule, but Alex Rodriguez would go straight up. But the point is that was the enduring sort of thought in the black community about baseball. Well, they don't want us, so we don't want them. So not only, you could argue, was this the right thing for baseball to do, but it was the right thing to do for itself because it needed to extend an olive branch back to the black community just to say, let us step in here and do something that should be done for you because we want you back. And I think that was a pretty powerful statement on several levels, but even on the financial level of we need you back. Come back and rejoin us. And I'm glad, I agree with you, Skip. I'm glad MLB took the stance. But Delta, y'all got a hub. Y'all the largest employer in the state.
And Coca-Cola.
I'm watching. So what y'all going to do?
Well, haven't they said that?
No, I don't know what they said. No. MLB said and did. I need Coca-Cola to say and do. I need Delta to say and do.
So now it comes to your least favorite title for an event, the Masters. And I cringe every time I say that. It's the one major that does not move because it's always at that golf course, Augusta National in Augusta, Georgia, which is how far from Atlanta? A couple hours from Atlanta? A couple hours. But
90 minutes maybe.
Okay, 90 minutes. I've driven it many times when I used to cover this tournament. But the point is, they just do, it's a private party there, and they're going to do what they want to do. And golf in general, the PGA, I don't think it feels dependent upon its black viewership. Now that Tiger is sort of, God bless him, I'm going to knock on wood for him, he might be out of mind and out of sight for a while. And after he exploded on the scene and beat those gates down in 1997, I thought we were going to have an explosion of black players, black stars on the PGA Tour. Did not happen.
No.
We could talk about that all the rest of the show, but I'll leave it at that. So the PGA is not dependent upon a black audience. And we'd love to have it, but again, it's probably going to just stay and do what it does.
I totally agree, Skip. The Masters is not moving. That name is not changing. They can say it was all about Masters of Golf, but when you say we understood, because the men that played at that club was supposed to be white, and the caddies that caddied at that club were supposed to be black. And there was no black members for the longest time. There were no women members for the longest time. So let's get this notion about it's a plantation. That's what that was. That's what it was.
I do think they've come around to some degree.
Oh yeah, they got. Yeah, Skip. If I'm not mistaken, I know Ken Chenault. Used to be the CEO of American Express. I know he's a member. I think Condoleezza Rice, she's a member. So yeah, they've come a long way. But let's not fool ourselves. But Skip, this voting right, what they're trying to do, Skip.
Okay, last quick point is on the SEC championship. You made the point early in your opening soliloquy was about well, where else can you move it? Because in those states that the SEC comprises. Where else are you going to move it? Will you have voting law problems in other cities?
Everywhere. We move it. Hey, who want it? California. We'll take it out here.
I'm afraid you're going to have to play in California.
They love to come to the Rose Bowl.
Okay, so play the SEC championship at the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
I like it.
Yes.
Okay,
it
done.
happened before. Hey, they played the Rose Bowl one year at Duke. During the war. So they can move it, Skip, if necessary.
No mercy. Buccaneers cornerback Carlton Davis deleted a tweet last night that included an anti-Asian slur. Davis later tweeted an apology saying he thought the word meant lame, and he, quote, did not realize it has a much darker negative connotation. So, Shannon, are you buying his explanation?
I guess, and then he tweeted a picture of what it's, I guess that's the term they use down there in South Florida or something. I had never heard of it. Now, I've heard of somebody saying you're a kook, but I've never heard it referred to as the way that he used it. So, and I guess I'm aging myself out of that demographic, Skip, because I thought I was hip, go to the barbershop, and I talk to a lot of young guys, just try to stay up on my lingo, but I'd never heard that word used in that context. Now, that's not to say that it hasn't been, but I've never heard it. So I guess I don't really have a choice but to take him at his word. But we need to make sure that we have an understanding of the words that we're using. So, because there are a lot of words that you might think is okay that might be offensive to someone else. So before we utter it, before we tweet it out or text it out or do something with it, make sure we have a full grasp of the word. So in the process, I mean, maybe the second or third meaning means that. But what's the first meaning? That's normally where the people go with, the first meaning. So I noticed he didn't tweet out that first meaning. What's the first meaning of that word, Skip? Oh, okay. He found a dictionary that had, oh yeah, that's what it means. That's what I'm gonna take him at his word, Skip. I don't know Carlton Davis. If Carlton Davis walked past me on the street, I couldn't tell you who he was. So he said it was an honest mistake. He used it in the context that it meant lame. I have to have no choice but to take him at his word, because like I said, I don't know enough about him to say he's lying or he's telling the truth. But just make sure moving forward, young man, that we understand the language that we're talking, that we're speaking.
Clearly, the only meaning I know of this word is that it's an anti-Asian slur. That's it.
And it just so happens, Skip, when we're trying to speak out against anti-Asian hate, it's ironic that right smack dab in the middle, that's when he uses it.
So, to my understanding, this started during the Korean War, as a slur our troops used against the enemy, the Koreans.
Yes.
And where I first became most aware of it was used often in all the Vietnam movies that got made.
Right.
All the war movies about Vietnam. And that's all I've ever heard. And I was hoping maybe you had heard this.
No, I've never heard it. And the only time, like I said, Skip, the only time I've ever heard it, the first time I ever heard it, I think I might have been in like kindergarten. And I had a friend of mine, I think he was Taiwanese or something. His name was Mark Sampson. His dad was a doctor in Glenville.
Okay.
And somebody called him that. So I guess they had heard it from somewhere else. And I didn't know what it was. So I went home and asked my grandfather. Well, my grandfather was in the war. So he knew what it was.
Yep.
He said, but don't you say that.
So back to your screenshot. I don't know. I think this was written in by a user to the sort of Urban Dictionary. And maybe in Miami, its colloquial use is...
I never heard it.
Lame, whack, fool, stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the tweet, he says he was actually aiming it at a producer who was trying to take over Miami. Well, my question is, why would you tweet about this?
Right.
Why would you go public with this in the first place?
Why don't you just DM him? Why don't you just pull up on him?
I don't know. That's where I get lost on the use of social media. Don't hit send.
Right.
Think about it. Maybe he didn't understand. Now it's the Myers-Leonard defense of I didn't know what that meant.
Kook, Skip. Oh man, that old kook. I mean, she's
okay.
She out of the person's out of their minds. They don't know what they talking about.
I don't think that's
kook.
what he was saying.
Exactly.
No.
Kook and the one with the G is something entirely different. Like I said, but Skip, I don't know enough about it. Maybe he didn't know, but you should educate yourself before you speak.
Yeah. And the great irony here is that Carlton Davis has been very outspoken about his experiences as a young black man, especially as a teenager in Miami, getting pulled over by the police and the fear factor of that. And he is part of the Bucks Social Justice Program Board and has met with community leaders in the Tampa area to discuss these issues going forward, black versus white cop issues. So that's the irony of this is, okay, this is what he's gone through, and yet now you've used a slur, maybe unwittingly, maybe not, against Asian people.
But I wonder how many times he's ever used that word before in his life. I find it ironic that smack dab in the middle of this, what we got going on with the hatred towards Asian American brothers and sisters, what we have going on, this is the exact time that he used that word. Just right now. So I wonder how many times, is that the kid that went to Auburn, Skip? Is that the kid that run the kickback?
Yep.
Is that him that ran it back against Alabama?
Did he run it back? Davis? I'm not sure about that.
Could it be interesting to see, Skip, how many times he's used that word before?
Yep.
I bet you hadn't been. I bet you never used that word before. Like I said, Skip, I've never heard it used in that context to say someone is lame, someone is stupid, dumb, whatever the context that he said he was referring to the word as. I've never heard it. Now, please, somebody correct me and say they've heard it used in that context. I never have. And I'm about to be 53 in a little less than 3 months. And I ain't saying I heard everything, but I'm pretty hip to a lot of the colloquial sayings and things of that nature, Skip. I'm pretty brush up on that. But I've never heard it used like that.
Okay.
Never.
I'd like to think via movies I'm pretty hip to the language, and I've never heard it either.
No.
So it's hard for me to give him a complete pass here.
Right.
And he did delete the tweet. I don't know. Now he's going to have to understand, to the victor go the spoils, and
right.
he's a defending champ now,
right.
So he is in the spotlight.
Right.
By the way, he was a 5-star recruit. He signed with Ohio State and then switched and signed to Auburn. So he's a big recruit.
Yeah.
High draft pick.
Yeah.
I think he was a second-round pick.
I mean, he played well this year, Skip.
After the Tyreek Hill game,
right?
Because he got torched for 203 in the first quarter of that game, and that was the turning point of the year. And I thought he played very well down the stretch.
You just got to be, Skip, you got to be careful, man. I mean, you think something's cool on one end, but you're being very derogatory and divisive to someone on the other end. So just be mindful of that. I know you don't really want to say the word lame. You want to come up with another word that means something different.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying, Skip? And I get all that. But just say the dude lame. You got a problem with, so now you want to be studio tough. So you want to say something about some producer.
Yep.
Hey, pull up. Tell him you got a problem with what he putting out there.
Agreed.
But no, you want to be tough on IG. Or so you say.
I would think his mom, as he grew up in the Miami Gardens neighborhood, she was a corrections officer. So I believe he got raised the right way. Yeah. So I think he knows right from wrong.
Yeah, I believe he also knows that that word.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to do some digging. I'm gonna call. I got a few friends down in South Florida. I'm like, how many times y'all use that word in the context of being lame or dumb or stupid?
Good point.
Hopefully an honest mistake and a learning experience, and no word really if the NFL plans to take action. So we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out.
No mercy.
Saturday on FS1, AL West rivals square off as Matt Chapman leads the A's against Jose Altuve and the Astros. Coverage begins Saturday, 3 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Well, the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs had their first true test of the tournament on Saturday night against the Cinderella UCLA. After forcing overtime, the Bruins tied it up with just over 3 seconds to go thanks to a putback from Johnny Juzang, and there was just enough time for Jalen Suggs to get the ball past half court and bank home the game-winning shot at the buzzer. It was incredible to see. We're now joined by Fox College basketball analyst and former UCLA head coach Steve Lavin. Coach, great to have you. I got to start with you here. What percent was that Suggs shot luck, and what percent was skill?
Well, naturally, because it was from nearly half court, the percentages are not as great, but his mechanics are solid in terms of being on balance, in terms of holding his follow-through. The rotation on the ball was excellent, coming off the middle 3 fingers, the pronation in the wrist, and he banked it straight on. So, yes, it was a difficult shot, but similar to a field goal kicker that's farther out. The percentages aren't as great, but the mechanics were there. Or in hockey or soccer, a shot on goal. What makes it remarkable is the distance, and obviously to win the game makes it even more dramatic and memorable.
But wait a second, Coach. Did he try to bank the shot? Was that the goal of the shot, was to hit the backboard first?
Yeah, in that situation, as you know, under duress, the seconds ticking down, what was at stake? Your goal is to get to a place being aware of the time and get that shot off. And what impressed me, it wasn't as though it was some crazy heave. I mean, he had his legs under him. It speaks to his strength. And the mechanics carried the day. A basketball, a game of habits, and it led to this compelling game-winning shot. The mechanics and the fundamentals were there. Now, of course, the distance makes it, spectacular and less likely to happen. But that's what makes it memorable.
Coach, as being a former coach, how many times did you put your guys through the clock's winding down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you put them on different spots of the court? Obviously, layups, they can make a layup, but at some point in time during the course of practice, you're counting down to win a game, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How many times would you say you've done that in your coaching career?
Yeah, you do it as a child, obviously growing up on the playground, and you do set up situations in practice, so you're more familiar. Matter of fact, when I was an assistant in 95 and won the national championship, twice a week at the minimum, we worked on length of the court, ball handling, being able to beat the clock under 5 seconds, and then led to Tyus Edney against Missouri up in Boise, Idaho, making that mad dash to continue our run to eventually a national championship. Jim Herrick was the head coach at that time, but we had practiced that situation and knew Tyus was capable of doing it because of his handles, his speed, and of course there are reads. You got to be able to read the defense. In certain situations, you kick it if you're double teamed, but Tyus in that case took it the length of the court. So you do work on time and score late game situations as a coach. So there's a familiarity and a comfort level when you get in that situation in the game. But let's not kid ourselves. That was just a spectacular, supernatural play by Jalen Suggs, who will be the 1, 2, or 3 pick in the upcoming draft. And you got to have that, like a Joe Montana rolling out of the pocket, finding Dwight Clark in that NFC championship against Dallas. Skip knows a thing or two about that.
I do, but I also know a thing or two about lucky shots. And for me, this was 95% luck. I give you mechanics. I give you the skill involved, but a lot of the kids could, going full speed, get the ball to the backboard from that spot. He did have a defender who got David Singleton, who sort of crossed his path and bothered him a little bit. So I'm going to give him some credit in the skill level of being able to shoot the shot and get it away cleanly to at least get it up to the backboard. But that shot, because it's shot from an angle, had to be about a foot wide right, and it had to be about a foot long to bang off the backboard and go through the hoop like that. So to me, even Mark Few said after the game, that was a lucky shot. Later, Mark Few said, I was happy Jalen was about to shoot it because to your point, Steve, he's got March magic to him. He is their it kid for that team. So I get that. You could maybe say he willed it in off the backboard. I just don't think he aimed the shot at the backboard to begin with.
Yeah, it makes us think back to Christian Laettner against Kentucky. The timing of having to get the catch and then turn and have the proper mechanics in terms of the footwork, the feet facing the basket, therefore your shoulders, and you end up taking an on-balance shot. Now, Laettner wasn't as far away from the basket as Suggs. And that's what makes Suggs' shot more remarkable and more memorable. And there's no doubt, when you look at national championships runs, the runs through the history of the NCAA, the national championship run usually includes a buzzer-beating shot, whether it was Chris Jenkins for Villanova, Tyus Edney for UCLA, Laettner for Duke. And here we have one with Suggs as the championship lines up for Gonzaga. Now, Baylor has something to say about that tonight.
Okay, so, Coach, speaking of Baylor, Shannon's got Gonzaga. He bet me he took Gonzaga versus the field. I'm very impressed. My field has dwindled to one team. I guess it's the team to have if you got the field in Baylor. But what shot do you give Baylor to pull off the upset tonight?
I think they have an excellent shot. I do lean slightly towards Gonzaga. It just seems to be their season. They've been the one consistent element in college basketball this year. And with the COVID conditions, pretty remarkable from start to finish that Gonzaga has played at this high level. But Baylor has excellent guards. And you look at Butler and Mitchell, as good as it gets. And the quickness of this Baylor team can cause some problems for Gonzaga. They get on the boards well, and it's a team that learned from their setbacks. They had a couple losses, but I think that's helped them, and they're playing at a high level. My only concern, if you're a Gonzaga fan, is did the Zags use too much emotional and physical fuel in that knockdown, drag-out game against UCLA? And also, does the undefeated factor play a part in terms of maybe the weight of the world being on Gonzaga's back? To this point, to Mark Few's credit and the makeup, the nature, the personality of this Zag team is such that they haven't played with any uptightness. They've been loose, aggressive, and Jalen Suggs, the freshman, just leading this team. And we've seen great players, great point guards do this before. You go back to Jason Kidd, or didn't win it, but made a great run with Cal, or Magic Johnson at Michigan State. Mike Bibby was an underclassman at Arizona in 97 when they cut down the nets. And Jalen Suggs is in that kind of rare air, just a special talent. And that's really what I think separates this Gonzaga team from any prior Gonzaga teams. There have been some great ones, but Jalen Suggs is that good.
So, Coach, if in fact Gonzaga will slightly prevail here, how high will the score get? Could we see a team go over 100?
It's possible, but I think this game's going to be in the 80s or 90s. I was impressed that the score was as high as it was in the UCLA Gonzaga game, because UCLA controls the tempo well. They're 337th in college basketball at playing in a more deliberate pace, and yet they were able to get up and down the floor against UCLA and put up big numbers. So I expect this to be a high-scoring game. And if you look at the numbers, Baylor, doesn't score at the level that Gonzaga does. Gonzaga is 89 points per game on the year, and Baylor 78. So I think it'll be somewhere right in between, play in the 80s, but it could get to the 90s depending on how hot the shooting is from behind the arc tonight.
But I think when you look at the game, Coach, is that both teams, UCLA and Gonzaga, shot over 57%. And normally teams were 97 win percentage is 97% when a team shoots 57% from the floor and get to the line. So UCLA played as well as they could possibly play, and it still wasn't good enough. So how much above do you think Baylor have to play above their heads in order to beat Gonzaga?
Yeah, it's a fine line. They're going to have to play at a magic level to beat Gonzaga, and yet you can't approach it that way. You have to approach it like you do every game, even though we know it's the biggest game of the year.
Right.
I think the key in preparation, as you know, as an athlete, as a coach, is that drum roll and doing what you do best. And they've done well enough to get to this championship game. There's no reason to depart from their style, their system of play. And they are a really good team. It won't be a shocker by any means if Baylor ends up winning tonight, in particular because of the fuel tank. I'm curious to see where Gonzaga's, energy level is emotionally and physically. Will they be as fresh and on point to get this win tonight, or will Baylor have an edge in that regard because they're coming off a game where they won comfortably and didn't have to expend the degree of energy emotionally or physically that Gonzaga did?
So how does Baylor deal with Drew Timme, because nobody else has been able to?
I think with Timme, one of the keys is before he gets the ball playing defense, use your quickness, your length, and meet him early. Easier said than done in terms of shutting him down. He's going to get his points, but I think you want to make him have to step out a little bit farther from his comfort zone, the operational area he's accustomed to catching the ball, and just try and limit his touches. Easier said than done, but Baylor has that type of quickness. Also, the pressure on the ball, very important, just like getting the quarterback in football. If Baylor can pressure Gonzaga, not allow them to have free looks or the window shot over their defense, then that goes a long way to disrupting the timing and the rhythm of the Gonzaga offense. But again, back to guards, Kispert, Ayayi, and Suggs. Those three are dynamic. I think really that's what we're going to see tonight are the two best backcourts in the country, because Baylor's backcourt as well is lights out. I mean, Butler and Mitchell are a dynamic duo.
And finally, Coach, Davion Mitchell for Baylor is, to me, the best perimeter defender in the country. And I assume he's going to be on Suggs much of the night. Who wins that battle?
Well, interestingly, don't be surprised if, Mark Few elects to mix his defenses some, and they do some switching as well to give opponents different looks. And you don't necessarily have to put Suggs on the opposing team's best player, particularly in the first half. You may want to save some of that as a different look in the second half, because you want to keep Suggs out of foul trouble and on the floor, because if he goes out, then suddenly this Gonzaga's team's chances of winning are greatly diminished. So I think it is a great matchup, and Baylor's defense is underrated. They can disrupt, unnerve, discombobulate opponents with their length, foot speed, and quickness, and it'll be the quickest team that Gonzaga has faced this season, without a doubt. And it's tough to simulate speed and quickness in practice. You can watch it on game film, but like everyone that hasn't played until they get punched in the face, it was Mike Tyson said that quote. And Baylor really does have electrifying athleticism and speed. But if Gonzaga can neutralize, offset that, still execute and play in a comfortable fashion in terms of choosing when to run and when to execute on the half court, then I think the Zags have a narrow edge.
I believe for the first time in 45 years since that 1976 Indiana team, we're going to have an undefeated national champion.
Wow.
Kent Benson, Quinn Cook, Mike Wilson. Skip, you remember them.
Do I?
Yeah, and what a great story. Here they are in Indianapolis, and only an hour away from Indiana, the Hoosiers campus, where they played their games and went undefeated under Bobby Knight that season.
Nobody would have expected this team. There have been a lot of teams, the UNLV, the Kentucky teams that come with the undefeated. Nobody would have thought it would be this team.
Don't forget Coach Wooden's 4 undefeated teams back then.
We talking about since 76.
This tournament has been so special. I cannot wait to see how it plays out tonight. Coach, it was great to have you join us. Thank you so much for your insight. Enjoy this one tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say about it tomorrow.
No mercy.
So over the weekend, the NBA fined Kevin Durant $50,000 for, quote, offensive and derogatory language on social media while direct messaging actor and comedian Michael Rapaport. Katie apologized, telling reporters, quote, I'm sorry that people seen that language I use. That's not really what I want people to see and hear from me, but hopefully I can move past it and get back out there on the floor. Well, Michael Rapaport is joining us now. And Mike, we appreciate you coming on. We do want to hear your side of the story. So how do you feel now that you've had time to really think about everything?
Oh, it's been crazy. It's been tough. The last few days have been tough. Have been crazy. I've gone out of the house and I get, sneers and I get finger pointing and I don't do good with sneers and snickers. And then I actually went to the dog park with my dog, and people that usually, say hello and even play with my dog, they don't want to play with my dog Wheezy. And then, I went to my coffee shop and they said, not today, Cupcake. And it's weird. It's like, why are you calling me Cupcake? And then I get online and social media and, I know I put it out there, but, people online have been so cruel and mean. And I have to say about the people on social media that I don't know, I could give a crap about the people on social media. In all honesty, guys, the whole thing has been crazy. I never expected it to turn into what it turned into. It's something that I take as a learning experience. It's something that, to be honest, I regret. I don't know Kevin Durant as a friend. I don't consider him a friend. We actually met on social media. He reached out to me because he wanted to do something that I call the shame game, when people come into my DMs and they say mean things, when they say racially insensitive things, when they threaten me, when they threaten my wife, literally, because I'm sure you guys get them. I get them every day. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. And Durant reached out to me because he wanted to do that. We actually did that. I met him. We were talking about doing business together. We didn't do business together. That was no problem. But that's the extent of my relationship with him. In regards to the DMs, this whole thing started with the opening night when he made his return, and the Shaquille, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith interview where he shunned them. And I believe you guys talked about it on the show. Mm-hmm. I said something where I didn't even add him about the interview, saying, if you don't want to do the interview, don't do the interview. I didn't add him. The next morning, or I think actually after the game, it might've been after the game, he started, he went into my DMs and he said, we were going back and forth about that. And that was fine. I could banter, I could trash talk, I could say whatever, I'm good with that. I'm comfortable with that. I've made a good career in the sports world from that, a great career in the podcast world because of that. But when you say you're going to spit on me and you can't wait to spit on me, and let's meet up on this street and that street because you're going to spit in my face. And that was the first time. And then there was a second time when I see you, I'm going to spit in your face. And then last Tuesday in the morning, while I was at work on Atypical, I was dealing with a lot. I'm moving. There's a lawsuit situation that I'm dealing with. And he hit me out of the blue. I can't wait to see your dirty butt. When I see you, I'm gonna spit in your face. And I'm like, and then he kept going on, and then he brought up my wife. And at that moment, it wasn't Durant. At that moment, it wasn't a basketball player. It was just another dude in my DMs. And I was like, yo, this ain't cool. We're not friends. There's no bro code. I don't know you like that. That's not banter. That's not funny. That's not like me, saying, yo, look at Shannon's suit today that he's wearing on the show. Why are you wearing those colors? They don't match. Or Skip, you're crazy. That shot wasn't as big, the greatest shot ever. That's none of that stuff. That's not, you're sensitive. That's nothing. And I put it out there. Did I think it would turn into this whole thing? Absolutely not. Do I wish I had never done it? 100%, because it turned into a whole situation that I didn't imagine. I didn't imagine that it would grow tentacles into a race issue, which is shocking to me. I didn't realize that it would grow tentacles to turn into a possible homophobic issue. But it happened. There's obviously, his ramifications have been public. In all transparency, full transparency, I've had to deal with ramifications, with my world and my business, and I got to take that on the chin. And going forward, I just have to be sharper. I have to be smarter. I have to be more mature about how I, handle myself on social media. So that's how. That's the gist of it. And like at the end of the day, I regret that the whole thing happened. And, aside from, all the banter, the person that was the most pissed off about me, probably the most pissed off because of the attention and the sort of negative attention is my wife. And she's probably, forget the doghouse. I'm in the house with the alligators with her. She doesn't like the attention and the negative attention. And that's where we are. So, that being said, I got to take all that on the chin and, hopefully I can move forward and, be better in regards to how I deal and, speak on social media.
So, Michael, you're saying that all the negative backlash you've received, even from your wife, is because you went public with the DMs? So you regret going public with the DMs?
No, I don't regret going public with the DMs. My wife, that's just like, she doesn't like attention. She don't care about the DMs. And like I said, I've put people on blast with DMs all the time. I do it all the time, literally all the time. That's why Durant reached out to me. We did a skit that's on his YouTube network where he put out a tweet and, we read his messages online called The Shame Game. I put out people's DMs. If you say anti-Semitic things to me, if you say you're an N-word lover, if you say, when I see you, I'm gonna do this to you. I put people's DMs all the time. At that moment, Durant was just a person in my DMs threatening me. It was the third time, and like I said, it was just a spur of the moment thing. When I've made rants standing up for the little guy, when I made rants that go super viral in regards to the Charlottesville situation. Obviously we don't talk politics on this show, but I've made rants that went super viral regarding politics. I made a rant that the only time I ever got suspended on Twitter was when that Fox News lady, she said to shut up and dribble. And I did a very volatile rant in defense of NBA athletes, actually LeBron, and I believe Durant was part of what inspired her thing. Not that, that matters, but, that's just my persona on social media. It's not who I am in real life. It's a larger than life sort of exaggerated persona, just like how you guys are on this show. In real life, Skip's not screaming and yelling about sports, nor is Shannon. That's my online persona. I let my online persona get the better of me. But in regards to why I did it, I didn't like being threatened, and I don't, unless you're saying your wife is gorgeous, unless you're saying your wife is beautiful, don't speak on my wife. We're not friends.
Okay, so Michael, why then do you think you got shunned by people at the dog park and at your coffee shop?
That was a joke. In regard to the dog park and the coffee shop, I was just playing with you guys.
Okay.
Right. I think for some reason, people this took on a life of its own. And like I said, if I had known it would take on this life of its own, I wouldn't have done it. It became fodder. Somehow it went from Tuesday to, we're almost a week. Usually these things on social media, the news cycle is so quick, they usually die down. This thing ignited something. I'm not exactly sure why, but I get it. I understand it. And as far as the dog park and the coffee shop and, some people that I know, that I consider personal friends have commented in a way that I thought they should have reached out to me. That's cool. And as far as people I don't know, burner accounts and Russian accounts and bots, I could care less. I've gotten phone calls and FaceTimes from players that played in the league. I've gotten some texts from players that are in the league now. And, people have varying opinions on the whole thing. I know my part in it. I take responsibility. And, that's all I could, I don't know what more I could say about it.
Mike, that was my biggest problem, was that you released the DMs. You have to understand, if that's anyone else, if that's Joe Blow, they don't know who Joe Blow is. That's Kevin Durant. In many regards, he's the first or second or third best player in the NBA. You had to know. If I release DMs from a girlfriend, they don't care. But if my girlfriend is a celebrity, the shade room, everybody's going to pick that up. Mike, that's just not anybody. That's just not the normal troll that's in your DMs. And second of all, how did you allow this to get to this? The moment it started going sideways, there's no more banter. Now it's time to cease and let it go. I'm going to unfollow him, block him, and keep it moving. Why did you allow it to get to this?
Well, in regards to what you said, Shannon, you said this when you first talked about it. You're 150% right. It shouldn't have got to that point. It should have been blocked and deceased. It should have moved forward. He's Kevin Durant. I'm Michael Rapaport. You know who I am. So, I didn't like it. I don't look at myself as this is the reality. I should look at myself as that, because I am Michael Rapaport. You know who I am. I have been, in the public eye for 30 years. Like I said, I underestimated the power of social media. I underestimated the power of my social media. I didn't appreciate the spitting. I didn't appreciate the threats. And like I said, unless you're saying your wife is beautiful, God bless her, God bless you, you're a lucky man. We're not boys. Like, I don't banter by saying, hey, Skip, when I see you, I'm going to spit on you. And Skip goes, that's funny. Well, I'm going to spit back. And I go, that's not banter. That's not trash talking. That's threatening. So, like I said, it got out of way bigger than I thought.
Mike, why did you just reach out to KD and say, KD, bro, I think you're going to, I say, that's a little bit too far, KD. I was like,
I don't have his number.
No, I'm just saying, you should have, in the DM, instead of going back like this thread, like, hey, KD, I think this took a turn somewhere. It's going to a place that I don't really think it should go, nor do I want it to go. So let's just, hey, let's rein it back in and like, look, you know what, bro? To keep from it before it goes any further, I think what we should do is just like cease this conversation, and you and I have no further communication.
You're 100% right. I should have done that. And after the whole thing turned into where we are today, I wish I had done that. And, I'm an emotional person. I think that what is my biggest strength as an actor, I think that's what my biggest strength is as a personality. I think when I come on the show emotionally and defend Charles Oakley, I think when I come on the show and I emotionally talk about Damian Lillard being great, ring or without a ring, that's part of who I am. I need to be more improved with that. I need to be in more control of my emotions. And it wasn't a good decision. It was a bad decision, and I regret that we got this far, and I regret that I did it. And I wish I had handled it like that, because when you said that, when you guys were breaking it down last Wednesday, I was like, he's right. And my good friends, my friends in New York, my friends in Brooklyn, my best friend, he said, Shannon's right when he, about the clip. And what you guys said was right. So, I'm a big boy, and I could take it on the chin, and the looks and the sneers and not petting my dog, I could deal with that. And the bots, I could deal with that also.
So, Michael, Shannon said earlier in the show, when he wakes up and he's just having a bad day, he tries to just stay to himself. Don't go out. Don't inflict your bad day potentially on somebody else. I know I've always had what I call the 24-hour rule. If I get mad, I try to sleep it off for 24 hours. And then if I'm still mad, then I act upon it. Do you wish you'd taken 24 more hours to just cool off a little bit? Or do you think it had gone completely over the edge and it was time to act?
I wish that I had waited 5 minutes. I didn't even need 24 hours. I wish that I had waited 15 minutes. And you guys are both right. You're both right. The 24-hour rule, block, move on. You're both right. And like I said, I usually come on the show as my, sort of sports persona. I'm being genuine. It wasn't a great choice. And, I'm not happy that it happened. I'm not happy that it turned into a whole thing. I'm sure he's had ramifications. He's got a great family. I'm sure they didn't like it. I'm sure he doesn't like it. And, I just have to take, I take responsibility for it.
How did you feel about him getting fined $50,000 for this?
That's part of being an NBA player. I never would have imagined he would have gotten fined $50,000 or 50 cents. I literally didn't. You're talking from the pine. At this point, you got to pay the fine. I didn't like it. And I didn't, like I said, it grew tentacles that I never imagined. And, we got to move forward. He said, he made his statement. He said he's sorry for what he said. He didn't say he was sorry to me. And it's all good. It's not that serious. It's not that big of a deal in regards to how it'll affect my life. And I'm sure it won't affect his life that much further. And I bet you it'll make the Nets band together even tighter than they have been.
So do you plan on reaching out to KD and like, look, bro, let's put this went further left than I intended it to go. I'm sure it went further left than you intended it to go. Look, we're not friends, but I don't want there to be any bad blood. Let's just say, let's agree to disagree. I apologize for what I said. I didn't mean any harm by it, and just move forward.
Pretty much, yeah. Let me just say this. An abbreviated version of that was attempted to be made. And I think him and I have an understanding in that abbreviated version of what was done.
Okay, so Michael, in the end, what did you learn about Kevin Durant through this ordeal?
Well, I learned, the thing in regards to, now I'm switching back to my commentator. He's just as sensitive that we've been talking about for years.
Yep.
I don't think, if I was Kevin Durant, I wouldn't be talking to Michael Rapaport, Larry X, Joe Blow, Joe Schmo, or anybody on social media. And, I think, it was a crazy situation. But, in regards to, like I said, I think at the end of the day, it'll bring the Nets closer. Adversity brings them closer. Not that they need anything to inspire them because they're ridiculous. But, when you grow up coddled like that, it's with actors too. I'm like it too. Shannon probably has a little bit of element too. When you grow up, and although Shannon came up super hard and earned every single thing from, his growth, but when you're in the NFL, when you're in the NBA, when you're on a set and people get you cranberry juice and you're in the NBA, you don't even have to stretch yourself. We sometimes don't mature as fast as regular people in the regular world. We get stunted. And I have to say that's happened to me because, you reap the benefits of being a celebrity. You reap the benefits of those things. And, we have to, like I said, I could take responsibility. I did take responsibility. I don't like my mom calling me going, what the F? And I certainly like being in the alligator house with my wife.
Mike, this is where I disagree with you on Kevin Durant. Because for me, I'll talk to people on Twitter because I never want to feel like I'm above reproach, but I also ask them to watch Skip and I show every day at 9:30 Eastern AM time, 6:30 here Pacific time. I ask them to subscribe to my podcast. For me, I go places, I go to Target, I go to Whole Foods, and I'm talking to people. And when I'm done talking to the people that work there, somebody that's coming there to shop, they'll ask me, did you know that person? I was like, no. And they were like, well, you talking to them like you know them. I was like, the way I don't think I'm better than anybody else. Just because I'm on TV, I have a job, and people know who I am, I don't place myself. So don't think that Kevin Durant shouldn't talk to you. I talk to people. I don't respond to everybody, but people will tell you, I'll talk. I'll carry a conversation.
100%.
I try to keep it above board, but once it starts getting out of hand, I just move on in a different direction. But that's how I am.
You know what? And 100%. I have conversations with NBA athletes. I've had banter, trash-talking banter with NBA athletes 2 weeks ago. NFL players. But that way, why'd you, whatever you're saying, your last movie was trash. That's in my DMs right now. Nobody's ever said, I'm going to spit on you when I see you. So I get the difference of it. I get the difference of bringing up people's lives. But I've had banters, I've had DMs with people to this day, in my DMs right now. I've had it my whole career of being, when I'm on this show, when I was on Skip's old show at the other place. I get it all the time. And, and I'm sure Skip gets it all the time. Why'd you say this? Why'd you say that? And then people say to me, I love what you said. Thanks for giving me love on the show. Thanks for giving me love on your podcast. Thanks for giving me love, or retweets, or I appreciate that. I have it all the time. When you say you're going to spit on me, like I said, we're not cool. That ain't cool. And I have no friend that has ever said that to me. We're not boys. We're not homies. We don't have a history.
All right, Mike. Well, we hear you. We appreciate you coming on. I think it was important to hear your side of the story and hopefully a learning experience for all involved.
Your last movie wasn't bad. Your acting in it was bad.
We appreciate you. A friend of our shows, and hopefully we'll be chatting with you very soon about LeBron, the Clippers, the Lakers. We'll get to it another day, but thanks for your time.
No mercy.
Rajon Rondo's Clippers debut resulted in an 18-point win over the Lakers. Despite only playing 13 minutes, the point guard still drew high praise from Paul George. After the game, George said, quote, "It's never been a situation where it's my team or Kawhi feels it's his team. We're in this together and to build something together. We're here to win together." So same thing goes with Rondo. This team is his. Shannon, do you believe the Clippers are Rondo's team?
Well, if it's already Rondo's team after being there for a week and a half, Skip, it lets you know the leadership was even worse than we previously thought. Because normally leadership, you got Tom Brady coming in there, Skip. It's hard for me to imagine that Tom Brady would have had this kind of cachet. Yes, we know what he accomplished at the other place. But to come in midway through the season, the Patriot way took time to establish, right, Skip? You said it took the half of the season, then it had to go to the break, and he had a conversation with Bruce Arians.
Yep.
But Rondo just got there. Rondo missed the first 3 or 4 games with an injury, and he's already in a leadership role. Wow. It lets you know how devoid they were of leadership. You can be great at something and not be a great leader. They're not mutually exclusive, and I think that's what we're seeing. Kawhi play with his leadership. Okay, I'm going to get my points. Y'all just follow me. Paul George was the same way, a quiet guy. They needed someone that was vocal, and Rondo is absolutely vocal. And Ty Lue, who coached him, who had to work with him when he was in Boston, as a young player, say sometimes he knows too much for his own good. I think this is what they need, Skip, but it just goes to show you where they were lacking substantially in that area, because they're immensely talented. We know what Paul George represents, even though he hasn't played particularly well in the playoffs the last 6-7 years. We know what Kawhi is, but for them to struggle against some of the teams that they lose to, that shouldn't happen, and that's because of leadership.
Shannon, you are officially in trouble. Rondo is now a Clipper. And I love what Vogel says about Rondo. He's one of the smartest players I've ever coached, great lens for what's happening with the group, and has a great BS meter. That's what the Clippers needed, was a BS meter.
Because they were full of it.
Yep.
They've been full of it for having you fooled for a year and a half.
So as Paul George just laid on the table after the game, he is going to say what needs to be said.
Well, why couldn't Paul George say that? You the guy, you always talk about you want this and this and this. Why couldn't say that?
He also said, I think he will help us conserve more energy. And will he ever? Because down the stretch of those fateful games against Denver last year when they were up 3-1, it's like Kawhi and Paul George are looking at each other like, are you going to create a shot or am I going to create one?
You're the superstar. That's what you should do.
Let me have the ball over here. I'll dribble. Maybe I'll get a shot up against these 2 defenders. Maybe I won't. Now, Rondo will set the table for PG, pandemic P, you can call it, but he might turn back into playoff P, and he'll set the table for Kawhi, who's one of the best two-way players in basketball, but on offense, he will start looking like a superstar.
That's why GOAT is the GOAT. He didn't need nobody to come in with leadership. He's already there.
Wait a second. I thought Rondo was the most valuable Laker down the stretch of the playoffs. Yes, he was.
Skip, you remember
he made all the key plays and all the key shots.
You remember he wasn't even playing when they got to the bubble? You realize that, right?
Well, I realized what happened against the Miami Heat.
Skip, that was one game. So you want to talk about one game?
He had 2 huge games against the Heat. Saved your bacon
LeBron James was 2 points away from leading the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and assists. And you talk about Rondo. You're talking about a guy that was the first or the second guy off the bench, and that's what we're talking about.
We got Rondo. You don't got Rondo.
No, what you got is health. That's what you got, and we don't. Y'all got health, we don't.
Okay.
But when we get it back,
I gotta end this. We're moving on.
No mercy.
So Aaron Rodgers Rodgers' 2 weeks of guest hosting Jeopardy begins tonight. All episodes were taped over 2 days in February, and the QB said he was as prepared as ever. Rodgers said that he took countless notes, watching back hours of old episodes so that he could, quote, absolutely crush it. Rodgers also called the hosting gig a, quote, dream job. So, Shannon, could you see Rodgers retiring from football to become the permanent Jeopardy host?
Nah, Jeopardy hosts don't pay $33 million a year. He ain't walking away from that. That's why these guys are playing longer, Skip. They know it's going to be hard to find another job paying $20-30 million a year after you're done. So he's going to hold on to the job that he currently has as long as he possibly can, although there's a great chance it's not going to be in Green Bay very much longer. But over 2 days is nothing. Quarterbacks go on vacation, and they don't spend every single hour of every single day studying and preparing for the game. They have a life also outside of football, but it tells you the obsession that these guys have with their craft. He wants to be just as good as the Jeopardy host as he plays the quarterback position in Green Bay, and that's what makes them great. But that's also why they don't branch out, Skip. Guys don't like to branch out because I don't really like to do anything I'm not good at. Tom Brady ain't picking up a whole lot of other things because he's been so great at football. Everything else gonna make him seem ordinary.
Okay. I sincerely disagree with you on this. If Aaron Rodgers were so good on this, and I'm anxious to watch him tonight, this is the first time we get to see him hosting Jeopardy.
Yeah.
If offered the opportunity to replace permanently the great Alex Trebek on Aaron's favorite show, Jeopardy, I believe he would retire early from football, or not that early. Like I think he's whining. He already said he could see the 18th hole in the distance.
Well, he
right?
just said he wanted to play 5 more years the other day.
I don't know about that. I don't get that. But the point is, this could be a high-paying job that could go on for a long, long time.
Right.
This is his first love to me.
Right.
And when I read quotes on his preparation, it was so telling. He said, I watched hours and hours and hours of episodes. I took pages and pages and pages of notes. Literally, I studied for this like no other. I do not believe Aaron preps for football games the way Tom Brady obsesses and prepares for football games, because that approach that he took for Jeopardy host was what Tom takes for every football game he plays. That's why Tom has won 7 rings to Aaron's 1. That's why Aaron is 1 and 4 in championship games.
Luck. Yeah, luck. Them field goals, 48-yard field goals, luck, right?
Yeah. After he drove him, put him in position.
That Malcolm Butler, that was luck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he threw for 124 in the fourth quarter of that game and 2 touchdowns. I believe Tom Brady loves football more obsessively than Aaron ever loved football.
Yeah, there's levels to it, but I believe all the great players are obsessed. And what it tells me is that he wanted to be just as good as the fill-in, the temp Jeopardy host, as he is at quarterback for Green Bay. So I'm not surprised that he took this approach. That's normally what guys do. When they get to fill in for something, they take it serious because they don't want to look like, oh, he just did that because he's an athlete and he got an opportunity. No, they want to show that if I'm serious about this, I can actually do the job.
Well, I believe he thinks he crushed the job.
Yeah.
And I believe he would love to have the job permanently.
Right.
And they've had celebrity, you were once a celebrity contestant, but they've had, and yet they've had celebrity hosts trying to replace the great Alex Trebek, Katie Couric, Dr. Oz. Here comes.
It's just so hard, Skip, because it's been so long. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, Chuck Woolery might have been the first host of Wheel of Fortune, but Pat Sajak has done it for so long. Can you imagine? He's done it for 30-plus years.
Okay. And Art Fleming did it forever before Alex Trebek on Jeopardy.
Exactly, because so now they get locked in, and so that's the only person you could see actually doing that job. But I will agree this. Now, say in 3 years, if the opportunity is still there, because you saw Tony Romo. Tony Romo says, I can make this, and you don't get too old to talk. You get too old to take them here, Skip.
If they offered this right here, right now, it would be hard for Aaron Rodgers to turn it down.
Well, that's the way I approach it when I filled in. When I came on your show, I took it serious. I studied got my thing. I said, you know what? I might be able to do this. And when I walked, I told my sister I crushed it.
Yeah.
I crushed it. That's when they think bust.
I thought you got crushed.
No.
I was afraid you got crushed so badly that you'd never come back.
Yeah, that's what my fans.
And you were just foolish enough to try it again.
And that's what my fans did. That's what they coined the term, bust, skip up.
And that's
I
why
bust
it
you
works
up that
so
day.
well between you two, because everyone always thinks that they are the best every single day. I'm looking forward to watching Rodgers, guys.
No mercy.
Gonzaga squares off against Baylor in the NCAA Tournament final tonight, and each team has elite players that could walk away with the Most Outstanding Player award. Zags have both Jalen Suggs and Drew Timme as potential winners, while Baylor has Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler as the Bears' most likely candidates. So, Shannon, who wins the tournament's Most Outstanding Player?
I understand that Suggs has a lot of momentum, Skip, because he hit the shot, and that's what people remember. But Drew Timme has been their best player. He's averaged 25 points over his last 4 games, and I believe he caps it off. If they win tonight, I believe he will be the MOP of this tournament.
You very well could be right. But if Baylor is going to spoil the undefeated party, my man Matthew Meyer is going to have to come off the bench and go Larry Bird on the Zags. He is capable at 6'9". He is their best, most gifted scorer.
Yes.
I love all the other kids, but it's going to come down to him as the X factor. And I think if he does light it up, he could be the MOP.
You think the guy coming off the bench?
Yeah, well, because he's been lighting it up every game.
It's going to have to be Butler or Davion Mitchell.
We'll see about that.
But Drew Timme, they got their work cut out for him.
I would agree with that.
And Minnesota's own Suggs, which, of course, I love. That is it for us, guys. Great stuff. We will break down everything from the game tomorrow at the same time. The Herd is on right now. Have a good day, guys.